All right. I was like, man.
Get the only thing that can defeat Mike Wilkins, right? Doesn't that sound wild?
Dude, you're right.
Yeah. So check it out.
He can turn yours down for you. He can
Yeah.
each one independent.
Man, right
so,
on. It's
like,
fancy.
hear it now. Like now it sounds like shit because I'm away from the mic. But like when you get up on it,
Right.
I bet it's
Will, check
substantial.
yours.
crazy, right?
Now fall back.
Test it way back here and see how different it sounds.
Yeah, it's different. All right, right, my turn.
Isn't that crazy?
Hello. Is there anybody out there?
Went down with it too. That was
Smooth.
Several skills.
He's an office chair expert, among other things. Who knew?
Hey, question: what was the sound issue last time? What
For the award show?
Yeah.
Those first 5 minutes.
Brutal.
Dude,
Couldn't
I
hear a
was
thing.
suffering. I was
I
like,
know.
bro.
I checked my phone and had like 12 different people messaging me about it. Probably all 12 people watching, you know.
Yeah, dude, I love
yeah,
podcasts. I love them. I love to like listen to them passively while I'm doing things. So I'm not a very good live listener.
Sure.
Like I don't listen to any podcast live. You know what my favorite podcast is?
Hit me.
FRL.
I don't know. I don't even.
You don't know
Is that
FRL?
Willie's?
Well, no, Willie's now at Matt Scouts, but I do like his. His is the first word.
It used
Flow
to be
Radio.
Yeah, Flow.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so it was originally Christian, then Christian and Willie.
Okay.
And then
All right.
Bracky and Nomad came on as the Peanut Gallery, and then everything went down, and now it's Christian, JD Raider, Ben Askren, and occasionally they get Shane Sparks in.
That's a good
on, like,
mix
certain
for
Wednesdays.
sure.
They're on like episode like 880 something.
They were doing that when I worked there.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
why I was like, yeah,
that's crazy.
They were they're on episode like 880 something, and I probably like have listened to. I've definitely listened to over 800. But
religious.
Oh, it's like
no one loves wrestling more than Mike.
Dude,
it's my
that's a
number one
fact.
thing. Like, well, my thing with that show though is like all these dudes, like if you bring up like any of them, I feel like I know them.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea who I am.
But they should.
I'm like, oh yeah, Christian said this, man. Like, oh, like what an idiot. Like,
literally the biggest fan.
And he's just like, yeah. And I'm like, I talk like he's my boy. Like, yeah.
Do you have any Flow shirts or anything?
No, I don't have Flow shirts, but I got a couple posts on my Instagram where Flow like shouts me out like during like a feed. Cause I'll like tweet in the like Bader and stuff, and I'll be like, actually, that's the wrong dude, and he'll be like, oh, word.
Thanks, Mike Wilkins, you dick.
Yeah.
Do they know that like you're a coach and a wrestler yourself, or do they think this is just some super fan that they got?
Yeah, just probably something like that. Yeah,
that's awesome. The biggest fanboy on earth.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, for sure.
How we looking there, Danny Palm? Adjusting me. Keep adjusting me, bro. Out of focus. I'm like always out of focus on this camera. I think I'm like Bigfoot. Like, did
you just can't be captured properly.
I think Bigfoot is actually blurry. It's like that Mitch Hedberg joke. I don't know.
Oh,
if you guys ever heard that.
I think Bigfoot is blurry. That's the problem. It's not the photographer's fault. Bigfoot is blurry. And that's extra scary to me because there's a large out-of-focus monster roaming the countryside.
So this podcast was a long time coming, boys. We've had like 9/10 of the Stout fight team, I think, in here at this point.
I know I couldn't stand all the shine they were getting.
Wasn't that crazy?
Yeah.
We need to let people see how terrible you two actually are after they talked you up.
I mean, they definitely like said some really nice things about us, and like everything nice they said about Will is absolutely deserved. Everything nice they said about me was out of fear.
Nice. Nice. That's the way to coach, dude. But then look at you repping your guys. You're here with the Brit sweatshirt. That's beautiful.
The brother. The brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, I like this. It's a good look.
Those colors are sick.
Yeah.
Nice little
Yeah.
neon.
So this is our third shirt. Her first one was cool. Just like she's Sunshine. That's like her name. And it was just like, you know, it said Sunshine on it. It was cool, and I like that. But our second one was just like our logo, but we like do like florets around our logo. So she just put like Sunshine Rays, but it didn't have her name on it or anything. And I was like, I don't like this shirt. Like if I'm buying a Brittany Bickhart shirt, like I want it, like it just looks like a gym shirt, which like I like, which I like you promoting the gym, but like I'm trying to get your shirt.
Promote you.
Yeah. So I was like, never do one without your name again.
Who do you think at the gym is the best about promoting themselves as a fighter, as a brand?
Lucas.
Yeah.
I think
that
that's
actually
a pretty safe bet.
That wasn't even like difficult. I almost went with Britt just because I don't know if you see, she just did an Instagram video to sell her shirt, and she like walks in with her pit vipers on. She slaps a water bottle out of this girl's hand.
Oh, no.
Oh, dude, it's sick. She slaps a water bottle out of this girl's hand, puts a White Claw in her hand, and it's like, brother, and just like runs her whole like bit, and it was like real good. So that's like
awesome.
fresh in my mind.
Yeah,
And I really like the creativity of that.
That's really
but definitely like Lucas is the most like he's
the most
consistent.
active.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's very consistent. I don't have TikTok, but I heard that he has a large TikTok following.
Yeah.
So there's that, and I think that's all going to pay off, right?
For sure.
Like that's one thing that I definitely regretted. Or that's one thing that I should have done. I could have and should have done better with my career, but I just felt like corny doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
I get that.
And I had a lot of misguided like ideas about how to progress myself. I think because like, you know, like I was like the first wave that came through, right? Like if you think of like, you know, you're like OG Pittsburgh fighters like of my generation when it first became like visible, right? Like you had like, you know, like me, Cherico, Justin Steve, you know, who needs, Joe Demore, and stuff like that. But like out of that like group, Justin Steve went pro in like July of 11, and then I went pro in November of 11.
Nice.
And then I think like Cherico went pro somewhere in 2012.
Okay.
And like stuff like that. So like, you know, we were like the first ones to really like jump.
Yeah.
And so there was like nobody to follow, nobody ahead to like be like, oh, this is how
I should try this. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to like make these like, yeah, I didn't even have Instagram.
But it paid off because now
did Instagram exist at that
the
point?
next generation has you.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, it makes me feel better about like maybe some of my shortcomings is that, you know, since I'm still in the game as a coach, they're useful. You know, they weren't for naught.
Yeah. How good does that feel, man? In your position, you guys both can speak from experience. Like when you tell these kids to do something, they're you know,
no, they're
adults.
kids.
Yeah,
they're kids.
Some of them seem like
they're
kids to me.
They're
for
all
sure.
kids.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them is grown.
But to have that authority where like there's a kindness to it because you guys care about them. They're in your gym. Like you guys have personal relationships, but at the same time, you're speaking from experience.
Right. Yeah. I think that's something that you earn from them. You know, like, cause it's not like just cause you did it doesn't mean you deserve to be respected and listened
100%.
to. It's something you earn from them. And I think one thing that helps maybe in my case, earn that is that like, I just assume they don't care. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, they don't give a shit about what I did, like and stuff like that. Like, so every time I'm teaching a technique or explaining like a strategy or giving advice on maybe some ideas on how to handle your career and your training, like preparation and like how you're going to like segment it and stuff like that. Like I always go into pretty great detail on why, you know,
Okay.
It's not just, oh, Mike said to do it, so do it. I give them the whys, you know, and stuff like that. And like that kind of like to me, like cements that like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. And sometimes I do that for myself, right? Like sometimes, you know, you get a little bit of imposter syndrome. You're like, do I really even like know all that much?
Right.
And then occasionally you'll surprise yourself and you'll be like, oh, I know a little
clearly know some stuff. Well, your guys went 13-1 with us this year. That I'd say you guys know a thing or two, probably.
13-1.
Hopefully.
So when we went into that last card 9-0, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, 9-0.
We didn't either, honestly. We were like, holy shit.
Yeah, just like went right under the radar,
Right.
you know. So you think we had 3 on the April card. Oh, excuse me. And then Visoki in May, then 3 in July, and then how many? Miguel and Lucas in October, and then the 5 at the end.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy that you remembered that breakdown too. That's impressive.
yeah,
I got
That's a Mike thing.
I got a wild memory.
Mike remembers like Mario Kart scores we had from like years ago.
What was the score?
Oh, I took a lot of L's, but Locke held all the L's. I'm gonna need that clip.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, did we miss the clap?
Oh, dude, we totally didn't clap.
What was it
You even
recording? You
said it.
clapped. You clapped when you said it. Like that's
Oh,
why we
were
do the
recording.
thing.
Okay, we were recording.
So we might have been like, yeah.
So Mike was keeping me honest. He said ever since he saw the podcast where I think it was Tim Bailey where I clapped at the beginning, he's a fan. He looks for the clap specifically
look
now.
for the clap.
So it would be a shame if I forgot the clap on Mike's podcast.
I do got to give you like a lot of credit. Like I love the podcast.
Thanks, dude.
I do.
That really
I was
does mean a
surprised
lot.
at how much I like it. Not like that. I was surprised at like the skill level and the presentation of it. I wasn't surprised by that, especially you being like such a long time pro
Right.
in this space. But like I was surprised at how much like I cared about what all these little idiots had to say. You know, like all these dudes, they're just coming up, and I'm like, yeah, you punk kids, get off my lawn.
Yeah,
and then I'm here, like I'm glued in. I'm like, oh man,
they got lives.
like
They're
I like
real
that.
people.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's what you think?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm interested by like all my youngins.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's always been, because like you said, I was obviously in MMA journalism for a long time.
Yeah.
That's how I've always tried to interview people, is like, I'm just going to talk to you. So many people will pre-write questions, and I'm like, that will never work. How many conversations, like, you're never sitting in somebody's living room with like an agenda of things to talk about.
Bro, yeah, that's the best way to
weird.
do it. It's so
Interested
organic.
people are interesting people.
Like
Yeah,
I was just
right.
talking about FRL, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I know these dudes, which I don't know them, you know?
Yeah.
And why do I feel like I know them? Because they're just in conversation, right?
Sure,
Like, yeah,
sure.
why did I go there? Because I want to hear about what's going on in the wrestling community, things like that, get insider like
Right.
info and stuff like that. But like, what got me to stay? Like, they'll do episode, like they go off track so much. Some episodes they barely talk about wrestling.
That's awesome.
And I'm like in.
You're in it no matter
in.
what. You just want to.
Did you
Hang
know
out.
Bracky when you were at
Yeah,
Flow?
I did actually. Yeah.
Dude, Bracky. So he's at WVU. He's the
Right.
director of ops.
Right.
Dude, like I miss him being on so much
He's
he
the
would,
man.
Yeah, dude, he would do Alien Hour, which obviously has nothing to do with wrestling, and he'd like talk about like Mothman and
Conspiracies.
like,
and
yeah,
stuff.
dude, it was so
That's
fun.
Beautiful.
I learned so much, like the Avril Lavigne thing that we talked about.
Oh, you got that from FRL?
I got that from Bracky, yeah. And then Lucas knows Bracky well because
Sure,
Lucas wrestled at
WVU,
WVU.
yeah.
and
Lucas
stuff.
also didn't know who Avril Lavigne was, right?
yeah, he didn't know
No
who Avril
way,
Lavigne
dude.
was.
He's
Made
that
us
young.
feel old, yeah.
Yeah, it hurts.
How depressing is that? That happens to me all the time. How
Yeah.
old are you guys, by the way? You're not that old, right?
I'm 36.
I'm 32.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm up
I
there.
just turned 32.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You're so much more
OG.
handsome than me. When do I get this hand? That's crazy. Damn. Yeah.
OG.
But that's young. Like 36, 32. You guys are still young in the game for sure.
Yeah, especially as coaches,
Yeah.
for sure. As
Right,
coaches,
right.
But this is also
Yeah.
like, well, I mean, you were a fighter, but this is all I've ever done. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, like he's well established. He's deep in. Like he was my coach. You know.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
I never knew that. I wanted to definitely get to that. Like I said, I don't pre-write questions, but obviously we're going to talk about this because you're Iron City Mike Wilkins. Everybody
That's right,
knows you
yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
Will, you came out of the shadows a little more. Like suddenly you're this coach at Stout and like you're this guy that everybody talks about. But I was like, where did this guy come from? Like you obviously have a strong boxing background and everything, but where did your journey really begin?
to give you the 30-second version of it, similar to probably a lot of people our age, Bruce Lee movies,
Nice.
traditional martial arts, a little bit of wrestling in high school, although it's city league, so and then went to Penn State, started boxing there. And then when I got out, well, actually in college, that's when I met Mike. I stopped by the gym one summer, did a little bit of jiu-jitsu because I was always interested in MMA, and I always
nice.
thought I'd get an MMA after boxing. And then whenever I graduated, I found out that they didn't have a boxing coach. So I hit probably you, Warren, up, and I was like, hey,
Nice.
let me be your boxing coach. And I came
I think
in.
Kev was like, hey,
that's
friend,
right.
my friend Bill, he boxes.
That's pretty sick, though. So that's a good journey, dude. Boxing, wrestling. When does Muay Thai come into the equation, though? Because I feel like that's what you're best known for now.
I don't even want to say Muay Thai. I like the idea of
Yeah.
striking. It's more
Okay.
encompassing, but whatever. That's, semantics. But
Yeah, sure.
so when I started coming on as the boxing coach, that's when I started training Muay Thai as well. And then I, did more and more of that and went to Thailand and stuff and fought there. And
Nuts. See,
Yeah.
I would have thought, honestly, I would have thought you've been doing that like your whole life.
unfortunately not.
That's
no.
crazy.
Oh,
How? Go ahead, Mike.
dude, however long he's been doing it, which has been a very long time. There's no like making up for his intelligence. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
That's very nice.
he can see things at a different. I mean, you hear. I mean, you've
Yeah,
had the guys on.
Everybody
right?
says it. Yeah.
And here goes the thing: is like all those dudes you had on are too dumb to know how smart he is. No, like I had a conversation with Lucas Sieber not too long ago. We're in the locker room, and he's like, "Yeah, man. Sometimes Will be like talking to me, and it's like, oh, he's making all these great points, and then I'm just like, oh, I can't understand anymore. It's too much. Like it's like, oh,
He's gone
like,
past it.
bro. Maybe just like tell me like to punch."
Tell me to punch. That's all I
Yeah.
need.
But like you see the passion come out of Will when he starts getting into like his like spiel. He's like, and then we do this, and like this is why, because it shuts this down, it opens up this, it allows us this type of leverage, this type of base, and blah blah blah.
But that's
blah.
also a
so sick.
detriment too, because like what, for example, what Mike's great at, and the reason Mike's not just a good coach for like fighting stuff. Mike's just a good coach, period. Even
Right.
stuff that he doesn't know about. But like Mike's super good at distilling down the complex stuff and kind of 80-20 principle in it down to like he can tell you one thing that's going to get crazy results. Whereas for me, I'll explain every last little intricacy and then be like, and then we're going to do this drill so that you can get better at whatever. So I've been trying to rein that in a lot.
That's
recently.
interesting. So how much actual coaching do you study? Because it sounds like, technically and for a fighting purpose, you got all the knowledge, you got everything you need. But like you just said, presenting it is obviously probably the most important part. At least like it's a super important part.
Well, they're two separate skills.
Right,
So like,
right.
and you never know everything. Like I'm still always constantly discovering things where I'm like, oh wow, I never thought of it in that way. Or,
Sure.
there's some sort of way that you can break down a certain technique in, a different kind of biomechanical, sense. And again, you just get deeper understandings of the same things because striking's not like that. It's not like people are inventing new techniques the way they are in like jujitsu.
Right.
But yeah, constantly gaining more knowledge about that is definitely important. But then also developing your skill as a coach and being able to convey that information is totally separate.
Huge. Did you always think you would be a coach, Mike? Obviously.
I didn't want to be a coach.
Yeah.
I knew I was always going to be one. So like growing up, I was like always like kind of like the team captain. I never wanted to be either. Just like I never thought it was cool, right?
Okay.
Like I thought it was cool to be like the wild cards,
Sure.
like a loose cannon.
Sure.
Like that I thought was cool. So I wanted to be that, but I always kept getting like pulled into this like leadership style of role. And then like, I've coached high school wrestling for quite a bit of time. I did like 7 years there. And then after that, just focusing on like my own career and stuff. And while I was fighting, I was like kind of like player coach. I would still like coach the amateurs and things like that. And I always seem to have like a little bit of like a natural like gift to, and I don't even want to say coaching. I'm an adequate coach. But I do know that I'm a phenomenal corner.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Like there's a difference there too. I was lucky enough to like corner like high level competitions. Like in jiu-jitsu, I cornered a black belt world finals.
Wow.
Yeah, Bridget McLeese,
Okay.
Bridget Grace. She's a black belt from Henzo Gracie Main Academy in New York City, and she was in the world finals of Nogi in 2021. And you get to bring one person down Matt's side with you, and she was like, Mike, can you corner me? And I was like, oh, me? Like out of all like the possible like people in the Henzo organization,
Yeah.
and like she pulled me down, and then ever since then, she's been extremely complimentary of my skills in that area.
That's
to where
crazy.
she had me coach her at the ADCC West Coast trials. And like a lot of that gives you like confidence in it as well. I've also like done some like Isaac Greeley in his world final that same year. He told me like some of the things I was saying made like a large impact on it. And, he ended up winning that world title that year too.
That's crazy, man. This is beyond my depth of knowledge already. What's the connection between you and Bridget? Why'd she pick you? I don't know the history.
Long term, we kind of like distantly came up together. So Bridget, like I said, she's a world runner-up black belt, right? So she's very high level black belt. And like she was fighting MMA way back in the day, and she was training at Daniel Gracie's school in Philly. And I would go out there for part of my fight camps. So like, and at that time, I think we were like both blue belts, right? And then we just kind of seemed to be like kind of mirroring each other's tracks as far as like our rise in jiu-jitsu,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Like we got like, like purple belts roughly around the same time, brown belts and black belts like roughly around like the same time.
That's really cool.
So like, it's kind of like, like what I like, and we travel around to these IBJJF events. So like the higher level jiu-jitsu events. And it kind of seems like a lot of times, like we are like the two like main black belts representing the teams at some of like the more like regional IBJJF events, right? Like, like go and compete in Chicago and Nashville,
Right.
other instances like that. She frequently competes in New Haven because it's closer to her and stuff like that. But then, we go to the Pan Am Championships, the World Championships,
So
stuff
cool.
like that. Yeah.
Nice.
And it just like, and we have one of her students is also one of my students. We have Jess. She travels back and forth between the schools, and like down in Pittsburgh, she views me as her main coach, and then up there she views Bridget as her main coach. And I think it's a lot of her like telling us how we're like the same person.
Sure,
that
sure.
like gets me like, you know, to like identify that.
I got you. Is that Jess Jitsu 412?
Sure is. Sure is.
She's super active on Instagram, I noticed for sure.
So Pan Am bronze medalist, Nogi Pan Am bronze medalist. It's a big deal. In the adult division too, which sometimes can be considered like tougher.
Sure.
You know, because that's where like the hitters are. You know,
Of course.
what I mean?
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. So did you grow up in Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
Will? Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you from exactly?
Point Breeze.
Point Breeze. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not from Pittsburgh. I'm not an OG Pittsburgher, actually. It hurts. I always feel like I'm going to get exposed, especially with somebody like the most Pittsburgh dude on earth sitting across from me.
I appreciate that.
You guys are going to figure it out that I'm from like South Central PA near Breezewood. I'm going to be exposed. Yeah. So did you grow up Steelers, like heavy Pittsburgh guy in general?
Didn't really grow up like heavy
Bro.
sports, you know.
Take his award away, Danny.
I still don't like know any. I haven't watched a football game in I don't know, at least 3 years.
That's impressive.
Dude, the last football game you watched was Jesse James reaching out for the touchdown
Oh,
against
God.
the Patriots. We
Oh,
watched
what a
it at
time
his
to
house.
stop.
It was
Oh, yeah, with my
disgusting.
parents?
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
we were so upset on Zang.
Yeah.
That one still hurts, honestly. Like I'll rewatch it and I'll be like, it just makes me mad. You get it. You don't
Yeah,
get it.
I get it.
Did
I
you
get it
grow
very
up?
much so.
Did you watch boxing and stuff growing up or anything?
No, my parents were not into combat sports in the slightest.
Nice.
And
He's
like,
an artiste.
yeah.
Just an artist. I like that's good. That's a good yin and yang you guys got, right? Makes sense.
Nail on the head. Like we
Yeah.
talk about, that's why we compliment each other so
Mhm.
well, because like everything like about him, I'm not about.
yeah.
I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely like, we definitely complement each other in very compatible ways.
Mhm.
That's awesome. What is your book? I saw the book at Stout that you wrote on strength and conditioning.
Mhm.
That quote on the cover from Mike, bro, he didn't write that.
I didn't.
He might have had some help.
Here goes what happened. Will was like, yo, I need you to say something for the cover of the book. And I was like, oh shit. And I like said some stuff that like meant what that quote is.
Sure.
And then Will was like, okay, but we're actually gonna write this.
I mean, kind
I
of.
knew it.
Like, what is the quote? Do you even remember?
I don't remember.
All right.
It
so-
sounds really good though.
yeah, whatever.
Oh, you know it off the top of your head?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
I was
No,
gonna
I
say,
never
are you
said
about
it.
to say-
I've never actually said whatever it says. But like, you know, like just think about like whatever it says and be like, all right, how would like a Yinzer say that?
Mhm, mhm.
You know,
That's
I-
beautiful.
I ain't using them big words.
I might have helped a little bit, but I don't think it was all you.
No, the quote, like the meaning to the quote was like totally off, like from me, like whatever, like you would boil it down to, but then bring it down to like, you know, more layman's terms. You
That's
know?
yeah, that makes perfect sense to
Like talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
me. Yeah. I think you mentioning imposter syndrome is really interesting because I could see that being very prevalent in combat sports, especially you guys being very young coaches and everything. Do you deal with that any, Will, as well? Because your background, even like Mike's background, is a little more like step by step. Okay, you're a coach. It makes perfect sense. Like yours is a little more renegade. Like you guys just got to trust me. I know my shit. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got lucky with him that
Mhm.
like, you know, Mike identified that I kind of knew what I was talking about early. And then he allowed me to develop as a coach with his career. And, you know, here we are.
It's nuts. I mean, you look at a guy like Danaher, right? He's
Mhm.
kind of the same. Like he has some accolades and obviously some background, but for the most part, he's just a guy that's super obsessed with grappling.
Yeah.
What do you think about Danaher? Obviously tied into Henzo Gracie school
Yeah.
for a while and everything, but just that coaching philosophy he blows my mind.
I mean,
like, I love that guy.
What luck you have to like get a genius who's obsessed
Right.
with jujitsu, right?
Right.
Like, why'd you pick like a sport that like makes no money?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
didn't even know like the future in jujitsu largely exists because of what he did with Gordon, you know, like making
Absolutely.
it more of like a mainstream-ish sport.
Yeah.
And as well as like, you know, like generating like income from it now. Instructionals like are huge and things like that. And it's just like, what luck that
Yeah.
you had to be one of his athletes.
Is Gordon the GOAT already?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I definitely think so too, but
Yeah. Like think about it like this. All right. Like who's the best pocket passer in the league?
right now,
Yeah.
I don't even know
pocket
anymore.
passer.
Do people pocket
right,
pass
like-
still?
All right. Well, let's just say
Drew Brees back in the day.
yeah,
Sure.
boom,
sure.
pocket passer. All right, who's the best? Who's got the strongest arm?
Yeah.
Who's got the most accuracy? Who can scramble the best? Who's got the best like playmaking decision? Right. So we just narrowed out like 5 like avenues. Right. Imagine if the answer was all the same dude.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, well, who's the best passer? Oh, it's Gordon. Who's got the best guard? Well, it's Gordon. Oh, who's got the best leg locks? Gordon. Who's got the best back attacks? Gordon. Who's got the best pressure? Gordon. The only thing Gordon doesn't have the best of is wrestling. You know, dudes can out wrestle him for sure. But like, he's just the best at everything.
It's insane.
Dude, he's 27.
I know. It's
Literally
insane.
makes zero sense to me. Just
Yeah.
seeing what he's done in such a short period of time, and the fact that they talk about it a lot, but like he gives away his secrets. They do instructionals on everything he does. Like you could learn it, but there's something about him. He's always a step ahead.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, by the time this instructional is getting to you, he's past it.
He's already learning the
Mhm.
next thing. Yeah. His stomach is unfortunate. That whole situation's crazy.
Seems like it's starting to clear up.
I saw
Seems like
that.
they've finally identified the issue. So that's promising.
That is huge. Are you super into grappling too, Will, just by being around it?
I like grappling. I really
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
jiu-jitsu like recreationally.
Sure.
Like, I like watching it, but no, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like
Super into it.
Yeah.
Do
no.
you train jiu-jitsu a lot?
Yeah, when I can.
Okay,
I wouldn't
nice.
say a lot, but like, you know, recreational. I really enjoy it.
He's
Right
a
on.
blue belt.
Oh, really?
I'm okay.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Okay.
So
he's
modest.
a legit blue belt. He's
So
won like
modest.
one. He's won like
Yeah.
one jiu-jitsu tournaments.
Oh, that's just because of good corner, you know.
Yo, yeah, it is
Legit.
It actually is.
There've been a lot of times where I'm like losing, and Mike's like, "Do this." It's like, all right.
It's like you're controlling him with an Xbox controller.
Do you ever like during the fights? Like, where are you at? Are you cage side?
Yeah.
Do you ever hear the corners?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
dude. You and I'll shout out Dempsey a little bit too. He's really growing as a corner. I feel like
Oh, for sure.
I've noticed a
Dempsey's great.
lot of times recently. I hear it and they do it immediately and it works. I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
Who did you vote for coaches of the year?
I did vote for you guys. I really did.
I voted for Isaac.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, he had they had 18 or 19 fights with us. I want to say just the volume and everything he does for everybody.
Isaac's a great dude.
The thing with Isaac is that it's like, I'm trying to think.
Is that
of a
he's the
good-
best?
Yeah, yeah. Like you could vote for Isaac every year. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's what I was
gotta
like.
give it
I
to
was like,
somebody
oh,
else.
he's already in the Hall of Fame. Like,
Right,
dude,
yeah,
like
the
pull
Hall
him
of
off.
Fame.
Like, yo,
Yeah,
bro, you
yeah.
don't get no more awards.
You can't have both.
Right?
Like nobody would complain if Isaac won. He's like that Jordan level where you're just winning the MVP every year. Like no shit. Like yeah, we do need to give it to somebody else. But you guys legit earned it, obviously.
Yeah. But like Isaac is, has a hand into me being
Right.
able to earn that.
For
You know
sure.
what I mean?
For sure.
Like Isaac was a coach of mine, and like I've learned a lot from Isaac. So like a portion of me having the skill to win that
Yeah.
award came
Was
from
him.
a dude that I'm going against for the award.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's such a special human being. Beyond coaching, beyond fighting, beyond everything. He's just not normal in the best way.
yeah.
You know his secret. He's got a secret.
Hit me.
He's got that click remote that Adam Sandler got.
Dude, that explains so much, literally.
How's he at wrestling practice at 6 a.m. and then another wrestling practice at 9, and then he works all day, and then he does the Bible study groups, and then he's training this guy, that guy, and then at night he's doing these 5 practices. And he's working out for himself, and he's running like
Of course.
a chiropractic business that has like 5 or so locations, and he's got a couple partners and stuff like that. Dude, he's got a click remote. It's impossible.
Don't raid Isaac's house because you're definitely going to get choked if you do that. But you should. Somebody needs to look into this.
Yeah,
I think you're onto something.
It's got to be that, and he's got time for everybody.
It does. Yeah, that is the part to me is like you'll never catch him. Maybe I'm not around him all the time. I shouldn't say that, but for me, I never catch him in like a bad mood or a bad day. Like he's always so gracious with his time, and it's like, dude, as busy as you are, you could easily be like, I don't have time to talk right now. But it's always the opposite. It's always, yeah dude, let's
Yeah,
Dude, he's
practices.
always about everybody else too. He's always
Yeah.
about everybody else.
Just grabbing people and being like, "Hey, this is how we can improve, X, Y, and Z that you're better
It's
at."
wild.
He's nuts, dude.
And he's dude, he's just the best. Like he'll like ask me, he'll be like, "Oh, Mike, what do you think about like why do you care what I think?" You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like
you tell
like,
me.
even back in the day, like back like in like I don't know, call it like the 2013, 2014 era, which is like so long ago now. Like I'd work out with Isaac on Wednesdays out at the factory, and like we'd get into some exchanges and stuff, and he'd be training us, and he'd be like, "What'd you do there?" And I'd be like, "Oh, well, I did this. Why'd you do that?" "Well, because now they can't do this and stuff." And I'm like, I kind of feel like you already knew that, and you just said that to like
It was a test.
reinforce it to
Right.
me
Right.
that I should have confidence in my knowledge. you know?
And
I'm
it could
like,
be that.
I'm like, I see what you
Yeah.
mean.
But I think also a part of growing and coaching is definitely just having a curious mind. Like if you guys stop questioning why you're doing things, you're never going to learn from it, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about awards, Danny, why don't we bring them over to the table? Let's present these live on air. Look at these bad boys.
Nice.
You guys are
there-
in royalty. Stout,
Nice.
Mike Wilkins, Will Morrill. Is it Morrill or Morrill?
Moral.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Nah, it's more ill.
Morrill. He's
He doesn't
more
know.
ill. He's the
More-
illest.
More ill than the rest of them.
Not just more ill, the most ill. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. So obviously, as we said, that's super well deserved. 13-1. I think you guys kind of mentioned it, but we've had a lot of stout guys, fighters in this podcast, and I never ask them. Like, it's never me asking them to talk about you guys. They naturally start talking about you guys. Like, you guys are such a crucial part of their development. It's very obvious just talking to them. So what's the next step? I mean, where do you go from here? Your coaches of the year.
Man, do you have anywhere to go with that?
Yeah, man. We just want to keep training more good fighters and keep developing more guys and, just keep improving, keep winning more fights.
I think the future is really bright for us compared to where we've been coming from. The fight team has recently really picked up. And I think that's has a large to do with like the involvement. So when I retired from fighting, I didn't know I was retiring. I just it just happened.
Right.
I'll know when to
Like-
fight you.
Yeah, there's like some like stipulations that went with that. But like, you just kind of like had enough and like you retire. I never announced it. Like there was never a post. There was never like an Instagram post, Facebook
Right,
post, nothing.
right.
No, I just ceased to exist one day.
Just drifted away.
Yeah. And I did not like I did not like the sport. I
Oh,
hated
wow.
MMA. Yeah. I would corner people because they would ask me to corner, and like I have like relationships with fighters and stuff, so I would corner them. But like, dude, I went years without running a practice, being in a practice.
Wow.
I was in a lot of these people's corners from like 19, whatever we had in 20 and 21, most of 21. Like I was not involved, but I would be in a corner, so it appeared as if I was involved.
Interesting.
Because
Okay.
I always have that corner skill that we had. Like I don't need to know you. I
Mhm.
don't need to know you. You know what I'm the best at? I know your right and left better than anybody.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I just like had this, like I didn't like the sport. I had a bad taste in my mouth from maybe me not being satisfied where I ended up, maybe like, like thinking things could have gone differently, whether it's my fault or if I wanted to like put the blame on like the politics around the sport
Sure.
and things of that nature. So like just like didn't want to be around it, didn't like it, didn't have a passion for it. But this crop of fighters that we have coming through right now starting to bring it out of me, and I'm starting to be able to like separate myself as the fighter and now the coach.
Very
right,
cool.
like I can feel myself making peace with,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
myself. Yeah.
I was going to say, because just obviously working, I took over as GM like a year and a half ago. The amount of times we've worked together, I would have never guessed that you had this disdain for MMA. You seem rejuvenated and excited to me when we talk.
Happened about the same. That's like
Interesting.
like kind of coincided like on that timeline.
You're welcome, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you. Honestly, I owe it to these. I owe a large portion, the majority of it to Will, and then the rest of it to these fighters who they really want to work with me and they really listen. We've been having tremendous practices, which in turn makes me want to invest
Right.
more time into them. But through that whole downtime, Will held it down, and he said, he's like, because I knew you'd be back one day.
Nice.
Like I completely checked out. I was like, you know what, dude, I don't like this. You know what I am now? I'm a jiu-jitsu athlete. I compete in jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Now. So all my focus went into jiu-jitsu. And now I'm back to like, this year is the year of MMA for me. I'm back coaching.
Dude, I love to hear that. Obviously for us, music to our ears, but just on a personal level too, it's a better Pittsburgh scene when you're involved. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
How long has Stout Saturdays been going on?
Long.
Forever.
I want to say they start. So we were in above the donut shop when those first started.
Okay.
We were in donut shop from 2013 to December 1st, 2015. So somewhere in between 13 and 15.
Gotcha.
They started. And I think it just like we have the largest facility. Like
Okay.
that's why. Like we would go around, like, we don't have to do it at our gym. We could go slide up to the factory, we could slide down to the academy, like go wherever, but like the Saturdays are crazy. Like,
Yeah,
we got
they're
them,
legendary. Yeah,
them boys coming up from West Virginia.
Yeah.
Like Kaiser. I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
I'm not there
The
on Saturdays,
outlaw
by the way.
MMA guys.
Yeah, I'm not there on Saturdays.
Oh, really?
Nah, dude,
Because you hate MMA.
No, dude, I don't need to see you spar, right? Like, honestly, like, I can watch the cameras if I want to, and I'll
That's
go
pretty
down
sweet.
sometimes to like get in some fighters' ears about
Mhm.
things. But Saturdays is his thing. You know what I
Nice.
mean? Like, I have a distaste. Like, I don't like sparring.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm starting to come around because they were just sparring wrong. They're out there competing and fighting.
Okay.
You know, man, you're not competing and fighting here, right?
Right,
you're
right.
working on specific things and you're using this sparring for something wrong. I'm trying to beat Will. Will's trying to beat me. No, I'm trying to like get better at these techniques that are going to
Sure.
help me in the cage.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And these fighters, they're starting to come around to that mindset. We just had my Tuesday night practice that I ran. We just had one of the best practices that I can remember as far as like a coach looking at his athletes in a while, right? So I taught a jiu-jitsu class at 6:30 and then I run a fight practice at 7:30 on Tuesday nights in the Strip District location. My jiu-jitsu class, I had 60 people in my fundamental jiu-jitsu class. So that's a large class.
Yeah, that's a lot of people there at once.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so at the end of that class, so like I'm trying to get around the more people and stuff. And like, so it takes a little longer than originally than it is structured to take. So then after class, you know, some people want to talk to me and stuff. So I'm like giving my input on this and that. Boom. Next thing you know, it's 7:30 MMA practice is running. I'm not there. I'm not on the mat. I'm still wearing my gi, talking to some people up front. I managed to get back to the locker room, get changed into my like stuff. I step on the mat. Every fighter is drilling takedowns on the wall.
Nice.
Drilling takedowns on the wall, right? You know where they would be like a month ago, sitting around waiting to see what I tell them to do.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
They're drilling takedowns on the wall. I'll just sit down, get the music going, and I just watch. Just watch for a little bit, looking to see what I can critique. I see, hey, he's messing this up, she's messing that up. What can we do? Maybe shout from up here. I don't even get hands on. I'm across from my shout. Hey, da 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 this, da 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 that. Boom. Let some time go by. All right, guys. I want you starting to drill back takes from turtle. All right. Ones and ones. They're out there moving. They're drilling appropriately, right? They're not doing it like sad drilling. They're not doing too hard. They're giving appropriate reactions, moving each other around, you know, inserting the near side hook first, all this really good stuff. Boom. I'm like, all right, cool. Let that go for like 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, it's time for me to teach some technique. Bring them in. We work on some attacks from back control because that's where entering the back from turtle left us off. We drill that. You know, get some good questions and feedback from them, helping make sure they understand why these are the routes that we want to take and the benefits that these routes give us. And then boom, like let's suit up, let's get some sparring in, right? We do our little glove sparring Tuesday nights. Saturdays is big glove sparring.
Okay.
So you can go a little harder in big gloves. Little gloves, you go a little lighter, but it then incorporates the entirety of the sport a lot better.
Right.
So I have them go and I tell them, I'm like, hey, I don't care how much you outstruck your opponent. If you didn't take them down, you lost, right? Like that's like to get them like sparring in the right mindset. And then every once in a while, you'll have like, I'll hit you. You get a little mad. You hit me a little harder. I get a little mad. But boom, next thing you know, we're fighting.
Yeah, right.
You know, had none of that. Everybody was like using skill, looking for takedowns. We were sparring like intense, but at the right
control.
Yeah. And like everybody just did everything perfect, right? Like as far as like how you want to train to get better, like, you know, obviously mistakes on techniques, like you're gonna have that like no matter what. Did their 5 rounds and then had them jog it out, and that was it. And like it was, I just like left and I called Will. I was like, bro, I was like, this practice, like this is it. This is how this needs to be. So I'm just like, the whole reason I said this is because they're going to watch this episode and they're going to know how happy I was with that.
Nice.
And what do you think that's going to do?
Make them keep doing it.
They're going to keep doing it. And that is what's going to make them better.
Beautiful. Cap that perfectly. Look at that.
Good job, Danny.
How much have you seen that evolve, Will, since he said you're kind of the guy that's in charge of Saturdays? Obviously a very important sparring day and cross-training day where I would imagine fights could break out a little more. It's like Pittsburgh is a unique scene in that there's really no crosstown rivalry. You guys more so work together versus against each other. But I imagine an outsider could come in and cause a little chaos, cause a little ruckus if he wanted to, or she. How do you maintain Saturdays to keep that controlled? But they are sparring and they are preparing for fights. They got to feel it a little bit.
Yeah. So I think there's 2 important parts there. One would be like kind of the difference between, 8 years ago versus now,
Mm-hmm.
which is very, very different. And a lot of that's just kind of like the culture around fighting and how that's sort of started to change and develop. And I think people are starting to take on more of that Thai style of like, all right, we spar light and then we, you know, crack pads and bag work hard and everything. Cause you know, there's no reason to waste your brain cells sparring.
Sure.
And also if you look at sparring as a tool, like what are we actually using it for? Right. It's not, you're not developing technique when you're sparring, you're refining technique. So you don't need to go like unbelievably hard to make that happen. So yeah, one, I would say as a whole, the, you know, combat sports world has started to embrace that kind of idea. And you start hearing UFC fighters talking about sparring less and all that kind of stuff. As far as like currently keeping things under control, one, I'm constantly reminding everyone like, hey guys, we're going light to the head, all that sort of stuff. But really we just have a great group of people in Pittsburgh. Like I don't really have to do a whole lot in terms of like keeping things under control. Every once in a while I'll be like, hey guys, tone this down, whatever. But we just got great fighters here.
That's awesome. And all of your guys, I will say, like definitely have, excuse me, have that killer instinct inside the cage. So it's cool that you're developing almost a light switch for these guys in a way. Like Padmore is maybe the best example I can think of off the top of my head. He's so mean inside the cage. He's the nicest guy ever outside the cage. Like you would never expect him, like a big old teddy bear, to go in there and turn into that. Like he's almost a different guy. And I noticed it the most at weigh-ins. Because my natural reaction being around people, I joke around a lot. You know, I'm like a whatever kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I was doing that with Padmore even after he weighed in and then came over for his pictures. And I was like joking with him and stuff. He's like, hey, bro, 1 second. I need to be serious right now. And I was like, bruh, like, okay, you're getting dialed in. Like, do your thing. And it just surprised me. I was like, shit, man. Like, he's in the zone right now at weigh-in. Just because he's about to come face to face with his guy, like, it's already happening. That's really neat to me.
Whatever their process needs to be, it needs to be.
Yeah.
You know? And the guys have different processes. You know, I was more friendly. I was more of a friendly guy, especially at weigh-ins and stuff. For me, it humanized you. You know what I mean? Because like throughout the camp, in my head, you're this killer. You know what I mean? And then I'd feel the pressure because all my students and stuff, they'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna kill this dude. You're a pro fighter." And I'm like, who do you think pro fighters fight? You know, but I feel like there was a disconnect there. Like they didn't realize that. And I'm like, you guys got to realize like this dude is another me. He's me from Philly. He's me from wherever and stuff. So whatever the process is, and that process humanized them to me. And then some people just got to get like a little like nasty in their head. You know what I mean? Like you change your mentality.
That's really cool. Yeah.
That's something that I was lucky enough to identify like really early on in coaching, is that you kind of have this continuum of what I don't want to say what motivates, but like I guess their personality or whatever for fighters. So you have guys like Mike. Mike's very much a competitor. Mike is there to win. Like he's not Mike's not like one of those dudes like we're going to war, you know. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have guys like Jonas. Great example.
Yeah,
Jonas is just like nicest dude in the world, and then in the cage just hyper violent. He's there to fight, he's there to smash people, which is great because you get these awesome finishes, you know. But you know, knowing where a fighter lies on that continuum is really important in terms of like how you motivate them, what you tell them before they fight, and it's just nice insight into their head and how to keep them moving.
I feel like that applies to any business, right? Like any boss, you guys are essentially the bosses of this business as the coach. Like you got to know your employees. You got to know what motivates them. If you're a guy and you're just like bitching at them constantly and that guy doesn't respond to that, it's going to cause more harm than good. So do you guys know your fighters in and out to like, I'll try to think of a good way to say it. Like if Lucas Siebert is losing a round, do you know something you can say to him that's going to be like, flip a switch in him and just get him going? Like, do you know it down to that level? And I'm not saying specific. I'm just saying like the types of things that will trigger each of your guys.
Yeah, I have a good idea. For now, the longer I'm with you, the more I'm going to understand that.
Sure.
You know,
in the beginning, it's an educated guess, which is better than an uneducated guess.
Absolutely.
And then as you get to know these guys more and more, and if someone you've been training for years and years, then you know very specific things. You're like, I can press this button and get this result.
I think I could flip a switch for Lucas.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Being a pick guy, it can't be that hard.
I don't think like it's, you know, as proprietary information.
Yeah, good. Good. Yeah. We'll keep that in house for sure. But you guys are definitely like, it's interesting to me, especially Mike. Sorry, Will. But like, you're part of the, like you said earlier, that OG group of Pittsburgh MMA guys that everybody thinks of. So it's kind of like you, Kama, and Dempsey have stuck around and are now coaching the next generation.
Yeah.
How cool is that for you guys that you're all part of this that's still coming back now?
It's super cool. And I'm very happy to be a part of it with those guys.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, Kama's still about it though.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And like
Yeah.
even Dempsey, like Dempsey's like, you know, he fought not too terribly long ago and stuff. It's like hard for him to like, because he still spars. He'll be on Saturdays at those practices. He's there and he's sparring, like he's coaching, right? He's like helping
Maniac,
coach,
dude.
but like, you know, like whereas Will's standing on the outside looking, Dempsey's like, hey guys, do this stuff. And then Dempsey's like, all right, now I'm gonna beat you up.
All right, now I'm gonna be.
But it's really good to like be coming up with those guys, you know. In both how we came up fighting and now we're coming up, you know, with you know, our coaching. And Dempsey and myself, we're still competing in jiu-jitsu,
right?
You know, let's
Big
not
time.
forget, like Dempsey just won the Pan Am championships at the black belt division, and then he also took a bronze in the world championships, right? Like we're not stopping there. You know, I was there too. I lost in the quarterfinals, meaning I was one match away from the bronze. I foregone the Pan Am championships to be with Brittany. She had a fight in Indiana, so I skipped out on that. But like, you know, I'm traveling around competing all the time too, and like Dempsey and myself, like we train together, like usually at least once a week. You know, like a typical Monday morning, like we're together.
That's
you know?
sick.
Yeah.
It's really cool to me being, as you said, like I used to cover local MMA, obviously, you know that, but it's cool to see you guys transition from fighting into coaching so seamlessly. Like it seems like it just makes sense for that guard. And as you said, Kama's obviously still fighting and still about it, but he's a phenomenal coach too, from everything I understand.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but I don't know if he likes coaching. That's one thing. I'm not sure if like he enjoys it, but
yeah, I don't know.
But either way, he owns the academy, obviously, and he's doing good things with those fighters there. So it's just cool to me that it stayed in-house, so to speak.
Right,
like
yeah.
the same guys that created the scene are the same guys that are now responsible for taking it to the next level.
Right. I could see Kama being frustrated as a coach because like he's like, you know, like dude, I don't
he's
even
the most
know. I think
entertaining dude in the world.
I even think when he
really
gets like
is.
older, like because he's got so much like of a fighter in him, you know, where I was like, you know, a fighter by trade, but I was a competitor, right?
Right.
Are we fighting MMA? Are we doing jiu-jitsu? Are we wrestling? Are we playing ping pong? Like whatever. Like I'm competing. It was a game to me.
Sure.
Like I never thought of it as like a fight.
Getting enough,
you know?
Yeah.
It was just a sport that I felt like lent itself to like my natural skill set.
Sure.
You know?
That's an important distinction. Where do you fall on that, Will?
Neither. No, I don't know. Probably more towards the fighter side of things. I always fought best when I was like, I'm just here to scrap. Let's go. But I was okay.
Did you fight as a kid and stuff? Like, were you getting in
Not really.
schoolyard scraps or
No, I
anything?
was a good kid. You know,
Nice.
not
You
really
seem like
involved
it.
in
I can
combat
see that.
sports.
Yeah. Dude, you're like, I've said it to other people on here. It's like one of the most interesting guys in the landscape because like everything you're saying runs counterintuitive to what you're doing. Like what you're accomplishing. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like everything is like, okay, this guy shouldn't work. It shouldn't work. And it works perfectly. Like that's
Yeah.
amazing.
I think there's like a misconception on Will's background,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like because like he didn't fight MMA.
Right.
He didn't fight much locally and he stopped fighting, you know, fairly early to be a coach, to be specifically to be my coach, you know, so I'm very grateful for that, you know, and there was times where I was like, Will, imagine what you would do to these idiots. Like just jump in here and beat them up. Right.
Yeah.
Like, Will, like you'd be going in as an 0-0 amateur. Right.
Oh,
and
dude,
like,
that's
but
scary
you're
to
out
think
here,
of,
you're
yeah.
out here piecing up all the pros. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and you're a blue belt. So like your jiu-jitsu is like relatively good especially for an 0-0 amateur. Right. You know what I mean? Like, oh, could you imagine? And stuff. But like, you know, he focused on the coaching, but like he fought professional Muay Thai in Thailand.
Right.
You know, boxed at Penn State, you know, was the captain of the Penn State boxing team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like pretty like credentialed. Like look at wrestling coaches. So a lot of wrestling coaches, right? When do they stop wrestling? Senior year of college is done. All right, now I'm a volunteer assistant
I'm a
at this
coach
school.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then I do this and then that. And you're a coach. You're a coach at the age of 23, 24.
Yep.
He did nothing different. You know, same deal. Coach
Yeah.
at the age 23, 24. You know?
You are still, like you said, 32. Oh no, we got a card in April, Will, if you want to.
No, I'm in my second fight retirement. I was done when I was boxing, and then I was in Thailand. I was like, all right, I gotta take this. But
That's awesome, dude. Do you know Musa from Penn State?
I actually just recently reached out to him. We boxed under the same coach, Ose, and Ose and I were just talking. We went to New York to see the UFC card, the Adesanya fight.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, we're driving back, and he was like telling me how he was coaching these guys, and I was like, that's great. I didn't box with him, but like, he's clearly super talented.
Yeah.
And recently he hit me up. He's like, hey, I might be working with him, but I'm not gonna have as much time. Maybe you should reach out. So I hit him up, and I was like, hey, anytime you guys want to come through.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go with that, because he's a guy. He's been on the podcast actually back when it was just Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Like, definitely listen to it, even a little bit of it, because Moose, I think you guys would hit it off, is basically where I'm going with this. Like, he's a very interesting mind. The way his whole life, he's an entrepreneur as well. He creates all these crazy products that are awesome. Like, he's explaining, like, for hand wraps, he has like a hand wrap roller, and he invented it. I'm like, what kind of fighter invents a hand? And then like, it's super successful. It's like, yeah, he's just a really interesting guy. I think he just lost his pro debut. I think he had one or two amateur fights and went pro in Florida.
Quick.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's like with
he's with first round in Bo Nickel, so he's trying to go on that same
He's a
path.
college boxing champ.
Right.
Dude can clearly scrap.
Here's the thing is, like, we were trying to match him in Pennsylvania. Actually, they wanted us to match him, and he was 1-0 amateur at the time. Part of the problem, he won by submission. So you say he's a boxing national champ and he just won by submission. Like, who wants that combination?
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. And Serb would not approve him for advanced amateur because he only had one fight. Like, he didn't care that he was a national champ box, nothing.
Wow.
Like, what kind of 2-0 or less amateur are we going to find?
You got to find a dude. You got
who just wants to scrap.
You got to find one of them Ohio boys.
Yeah, exactly. An independent fighter.
They'll pull. Like, there's some dudes in Ohio. They don't care.
They'll just fight.
They don't know. They don't know any better. And like, then they fight, and it's like, it's crazy.
So I don't know if Moose's plan is to like fight closer to State College or something. If he wanted to get that pro fight so he could get licensed in PA pro, maybe. I don't know. I'm just
because once you're pro, you're pro. You're pro back.
Yeah, you can't go back now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic. How many AMI fights did you have, Mike?
10.
Yeah. And that's common for guys in your era. That was what everybody used to do.
I probably could have gone pro a little sooner, but like, it was harder to go pro. There was not pro.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when I went pro, like, when did MMA start? I
went to the first pro card.
Was that the one at the Igloo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Joe Demore fought on that one. Phil Davis fought on that one. I was like, so like, at that point in time, I already had like 9 amateur fights, but like, it was like, that was like the one card. There was like nowhere to go pro.
Isn't that crazy to think of?
And then the promotion that I kind of finished up my amateur career with, Cage of Chaos, they would put on some pro fights as well. But like, it was like here and there, not every card. And they probably would have like made it happen for me. But like, I can't quite remember like how it all went down. But like, just like, it just felt like you should keep fighting amateur. Like, there wasn't the opportunity to be a pro, really.
Right. How do you handle that with your guys? Is it just a total case-by-case basis? You determine when they're ready to go pro?
100%.
We have a bit of a rough outline for people, but it always comes down to individuals.
Yeah. There's timelines that are involved, skill development that you look at, different things like that. Also like the talent pool around them, Yeah.
That's sick. Well, we're honored to be a part of this growth, man, for real. This past year has been awesome for us, and we're looking at 2023 as even bigger and better. This April card's sick, as you guys know. Without spilling too many beans, Stout's got some fun stuff coming up on that card.
Yep.
Since we did announce this fight, we'll talk about this one. James Lido.
Nice.
Dude, how good is this kid?
Oh, dude, he's super good. And he's like, he's like super raw.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't even like really got like to put too much of our like spin on him yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's super raw, but like he's an athlete.
He's a monster.
Man. You ever watch him wrestle?
Just on YouTube, never
dude,
in
he's
person.
Big move. Big
yeah.
move, bro. He's a big move, dude. Like, yeah, he can make it happen.
And that's how he was in the cage too. You can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big move, dude. Yeah. I really like that
mindset.
Dude, that's scary. That's a scary thing to go against somebody who you know is not only not afraid to go big, but loves to
Wants
go
to,
big.
like lives
Loves
for
to-
that
yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Dude, that matchup is sick. Like Ken Burrs is a stud too. I'm sure you know about Ken.
Yeah, he
for
wrestled
sure.
at Waynesburg.
Yeah, that's a sick wrestling matchup. MMA, wherever you put them in against each other at, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for that
Yeah.
fight. I think that's going to be a good fight. It'd be sick if that could be advanced rules, but that will
I
not.
know.
Man, it's just like I like the novice rules. Like at first I was like, this is dumb. Like this is not the sport, blah, blah, blah. And then like the more the sport is growing, I can see that there is a place for these novice rules, you know? But like there should be, I would like if there was some kind of like waiver
Exceptions, yeah.
where you could like explain, like you can meet certain criteria for an exception
Totally
to get out
agree.
of it. Like the Penn State dude that
Yep.
you guys were talking about. And then like, dude, I think if you're like, oh yeah, well, he's a Division I wrestler, auto up, because
Totally
it's hard
agree.
to match these guys,
Exactly.
you know? So like you're shooting yourself in the foot on that. And then these dudes, you get one dude, he's 3-0. Oh, he's ready for advanced Amis, right? And then this other dude's 2-0. Can't do it. Can't do it. It just like
Isn't that
makes the
crazy?
matchmaking so difficult
Yeah.
and stuff. But I like that the novice rules apply because then you can bring up somebody without background at a more reasonable pace.
Exactly.
You know, so
There does
I'm
need to
happy
be.
they exist.
Yeah, I agree with you that there needs to be a little more nuance, and you guys will probably like this, but when Bo Nickel was transitioning to MMA, we were going to match it. Like we were in talks to match him. Obviously, we didn't. We never had him fight for us, but we reached out to Serb right away, and he's the only guy that Serb has ever approved for advanced that we've tried with no background. He's like,
Oh,
he's like
wow.
Bo Nickel. He's like, okay.
Oh,
like,
wow,
yes,
you're
he
telling
can fight
me-
advanced.
Oh, that's so amazing. Three-time
imagine?
NCAA champ, three-time NCAA champ, 4-time finalist, Olympic trials finalist, a U23 world champ. Like, come on, dude.
But
Like,
that's what it
that's
takes.
the pass you're going to give. You got to be the U23 world champ. Like, come on, man.
That's
like,
what
the
it
dude,
takes,
The dude's
yeah.
he was number 2 on our Olympic ladder to the Olympic champion, David Taylor, who also probably had a little bit of big brothering over him because like David was like the Penn State guy and then Bo came in. So I'm sure there was some mentorship there. You know how hard it is to beat your mentor,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean?
Like
Like,
his style. Like,
bro, Bo is awesome, man. Like, you watch him wrestle,
Yeah.
Thank him.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
thank
yeah.
him. Like, dude, it's such a joy to watch him wrestle. He's got that like loose flow to him.
Yep.
That's
But
why I
he's
knew
got
he'd be
that
good at
big
MMA.
move intensity. Yeah, dude. I'm super fired up about his career.
Yes.
Oh, dude, absolutely. One of my
I'm super
favorite
fired up.
matches to watch in grappling anything is Gordon versus Bo Nickel because Bo Nickel
Wild.
thought he was going to win. You could tell.
Dude,
he
that's-
thought he was going to win.
Okay, so
That's awesome.
I feel like this is fair because I just like fully pumped Bo Nickel.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there was no way he was going to win that.
But he
You
was
know?
like legit pissed when he lost. Like he thought he was going to win that match.
He's a true competitor.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That
I mean-
mentality's sick.
I have a high level of admiration for Bo Nickel.
Oh, dude, how can you not? I'm everybody is super excited
yeah.
to see where he goes now in the UFC.
Yeah.
When's he? Is he fighting in February? Is that the fight?
I don't know. He got injured.
They just rebooked him versus Jalen Turner. Is that
No,
Jalen
Jalen
Turner.
Turner's
No,
that
he's a-
55er.
okay?
He's
That guy.
That's your boy.
I really
That's your
You're a
boy.
Jalen Turner guy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nice.
he's Jalen Turner. He's like 6'3".
Yeah, yeah.
dude.
Built like
He's
built like a
lanky boy.
spider.
He's
bro.
gonna be a champ. I'm telling you, that guy is really good.
Yeah,
Who
he's very good.
did Vicente Luque knock him? He suffered a bad knockout to somebody, didn't he?
Turner?
Yeah. Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
I feel
Oh.
like somebody.
Jamie Pickett. That's who he's fighting.
That's who Bo
Oh,
Nickel's
he's
fighting.
like
fighting.
Jamie
Jamie
Pickett. Yeah, I don't know who Jalen Turner lost to because again, like I just got back to MMA.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, dude, like I didn't watch any UFC. I couldn't
Oh,
stand it.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine if
Couldn't
you're in that place.
stand
Dude,
it.
I like it still, but I can't tell you half the guys anymore on a card. Like
Yeah.
I'm so invested in this now that like I don't watch UFC as
Right.
nearly as much. It has to
Yeah.
be a huge
mean,
fight.
You only have so much time,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And you have to be so glued into the regional scene.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? So it's like, oh, like, you know, like you can't be that dialed into like that scene when you need to, if you start doing that, like you're gonna suffer over here.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
need to be glued in. You need to be seeing who's winning this fight, that fight, blah, blah, blah. All potential matchups. Oh, then you have to deal with the whole rigmarole of, oh, novice Amy, advanced Amy. When can we get this matched up? Da, 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 da.
And this just happened recently, and I appreciated you being understanding about it. But like, guys are friends sometimes, and we don't know about it. And we pitch a
Mhm.
fight, and it's
I
like,
didn't know.
I'm sorry, like I didn't know they were friends. I'm not-
Yeah, you were like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't know these two people were friends. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
first off, you are not responsible to know who's friends with who.
Yeah.
Second off, I didn't know either.
Sure. Yeah. But a lot of times.
But I like that fight. We're not gonna say that. But
No,
I liked that fight.
Dude, so everybody liked that fight. They also liked that fight, in full disclosure. Everybody liked it, but there was a circumstance that kept it from happening. You guys will all know soon enough what we're talking about, I think.
Okay, cool.
You'll piece it together.
I mean, I had an opinion on what that person should do, and I didn't think that person should do that fight because I felt like that person should take a different route.
Okay.
And maybe that's what happened.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly, the ins and outs. I know the fight that is happening involving your guy is
that's going to be
as
tough.
good of a matchup as it gets.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And like, that's what we're looking for with that particular fighter. So you talk about like how we train these guys to career development, how many amateur fights and stuff like that. And like, this is another thing. So like we went 13-1 last year. That should be difficult to do again.
Right.
Because
we don't want easy fights.
We don't want it. I do want easy fights for certain people.
Yeah.
For certain people, I want easy fights because of where it's going to be on their development. You know, the person that we're speaking of is in a position. What I say to you, I said, we need tough fight for this one.
Yep.
Right. We need a tough fight. Right. And like what I'm looking to do and what my job is to get the right fights. Right. And there comes a time in these fighters' amateur career where I try to get them beat. I coach them to win.
That's awesome.
But I try to get them beat. All right. Because like, you know, we're going to test you and like, it definitely doesn't come early. Right. My ideal, like I would love for you to start 1-0. Right. It gives you a positive outlook. It lets you identify as somebody who can do it.
Right.
And stuff like that. So I take strides to make sure to like try to like get like a fight that I think we're going to win for your first fight.
That's awesome.
And then depending on the type of athlete you are, depending on your experience in other sports, that depends on the route we go. You know, depends on your personality and stuff. Like Brittany, right? I've been trying to get her beat, you know, like, and it's just not happening. You know what I mean? So that tells me a lot, right? She's been in tough spots and things like that. And in that same token, though, there goes like to talk about how it's difficult to do that all the time. Brittany lost her first fight.
Yep.
She made her debut in CFFC, which is a tough place to make your debut in. She made her debut against a girl who had already 2 fights experience, right? And honestly, and she made her debut against a girl who's part of our team.
Wow.
It was a Nick Catone girl. Nick Catone is under Ricardo Almeida, which is part of the Henzo family. And the Henzo family, we're about that. We had to talk to each other to make sure it was okay. Like we're very like respectful of each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was hard to get her a fight. So we had to take that fight, you know? Logan Pryor, a similar thing, right? Like, did I want Logan Pryor to debut against Cahill? Absolutely not. Right. I was like, damn, dude, that is not a good look for us, you know? But I've been trying to get him a fight since July, you know? And like, he's like, oh, coach, did you get me a fight yet? Oh, coach, did you get me a fight yet? And I'm like, no, dude. And then I was like, well, you know who 100% is going to take this fight? Cahill. Because like, you know, like he was like, Logan would be a large underdog in that fight.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Cahill, Division I wrestler, already 2 fights experience, an extremely skilled grappler as well. You know, I was like, damn. And like part of my like thinking was like, you know, maybe Logan comes out here and surprises everybody. How cool would that be?
Yeah.
He fought a good fight. The other part is then if he loses, he's 0-1. Somebody will fight him now.
Yep.
That's a great point.
It's like, oh, he's 0-1. You're going to say no to an 0-1?
It's a win-win in that regard, for sure.
Yeah.
And Logan's an interesting guy too, in terms of somebody that you would look at, never think he's going to be a fighter, but he had the dog in him, man. Like there was some dog in that
very
fight.
happy with
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Logan, he's a really good kid. But yeah, he's got a little weirdness to him. That's cool.
That's the best. I love it. That's one thing about MMA. Like the personalities in MMA make it. That's what everybody loves. That's what attracts everybody. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. So guys, I don't want this run. I feel like I could talk to you guys for like 6 hours, but I'm not going to do that to the listener or you guys. So we'll get out of here. Coaches of the Year. Thank you guys for everything you do, for real. Like we don't take that lightly.
Where's my Gym of the Year trophy?
Is it here? It's got to be here, right?
Present it.
Yeah.
Present yourself.
it. Show yourself. Have Ryan get that.
1 second.
I will accept this on behalf of me.
I feel like that should be hand delivered to the gym. Like Gym of the Year, show up at the doorstep.
Gym of the year, buck of the year.
Buck of the year. Buck of the year. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thanks, guys. We genuinely like having Stout in Pittsburgh, humming the way you guys do, makes the whole scene better, makes our jobs easier. Everything's exciting about it.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
we appreciate what you do. And
Appreciate.
thanks for having us
appreciate it.
on.
Absolutely.
Yo, I'm
guys.
gonna throw some shout outs out there.
Do it,
First
bro.
off, I'm gonna shout out the big dog, Warren Stout.
Yeah.
The reason that we can do all this stuff. You know, Warren
There we
took
go.
a belief in me as a young fighter. You know, he gave me tremendous opportunity to work in this field, and now, like, you know, we're growing really well. Gonna leave here, go right to the new location in Bridgeville.
Right here.
It's like
Yeah.
7 minutes away. I'm
Yeah.
teaching there tonight. You know, so now we got our 4 locations running.
That's
And
sick.
you know, we're just spreading jujitsu, we're spreading the martial arts.
That's
yeah,
5
it's great.
minutes of that 7-minute drive is just going through that business
Yeah.
park.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's
for
really
sure.
super close. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
Gym of the year, Stout Pittsburgh. Who's
Let's
Ryan?
go.
Have Ryan present this to Wilkins on camera.
Present.
Put him on camera.
Congratulations, my man.
There
Thank
we go.
you.
There we go.
Look at me,
This is
dude.
a huge. The double champ.
Watch this, Will.
Yay. Yeah.
You're out of here, Will. This is mine too.
Just takes them all.
Yeah, very exciting. Thanks for having us on, guys. Been looking forward to being on this podcast.
Same, bro.
You know,
Very
we'll
excited to
have
you.
some cool stuff go down in April, and then I'll hop back on and
Showtime.
I'll let
baby.
you know why it went down the way it went
Where
down.
we're at. Hell yeah. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. Nice.
All right, cool.